without further ado, we have Rasheed Philips here. Um, he's no stranger to here in our IGs. He's been popped up at least 15 of them, and it's been wonderful every 15 times. And before we've had him, as I say, pop in, but he's never been a guest. And this is the first thank you, because you're about to get a little bit before we get into this. This is the first thank you for coming on, because I maybe I guilted him in it. I don't know, but he kept asking. and he finally agreed, and this is not an interviewing man. So I greatly appreciate that. One. Two, the knowledge that he has been able to talk in the conversations that we've been able to have when he's popped in have been immeasurable. So I thank you for that, for sharing your wisdom with us, but more importantly, the barbecue community. So I do appreciate that. Thank you. And three is the personal thank you. I said it once, I always say it again. This gentleman who knew me from nothing, of course, it's all different when, I know him from television, from the Facebook pages that he was on that I happened to be a part of or whatever. But when you do, every year I do a foster, you get my little foster dad shirt on. Foster drive, my parents, not my parents, but my wife and I are foster parents and adopted parents, actually. And each year, instead of lieu of, birthday tidings to me, I ask that you donate backpacks to our local foster agency here in Cleveland. I've been doing that for like the last 6 years. And he heard about it here again in the live that he was in the chat on, and basically just took us over the top. So, yeah, again, thank you. My mouth broke. It's funny because when I look back at that video, my head crooked, my mouth fell. It was just like, but, and this epitomizes the barbecue community and his given efforts. He epitomizes that, and I appreciate that. And I thank you for the thoughtfulness for you and everybody else that have, whether it was 1 or 100, that you all would think enough of the children and help me do this for them. So I greatly appreciate it. And I think right now that's the end of the thank you. So I think we can move forward now. So we're good.
Well, I appreciate that. If I could blush, I'd probably be all red right now, but thank you. Thank you. I truly, truly do appreciate the kind words. Far more than I deserve, but they are appreciated.
Well, here again, I would disagree, but, we all good. Okay, Germany said it again. Okay, we hear you. We hear you, Germany. There you go. There you go. So, one thing that has been, Kevin asked what you're drinking, by the way.
Hey, Pops, I'm drinking on that bottle that I brought you, that Woodford barrel oak smoke. It's real good.
Well, I would join, but it's coffee. It's coffee. I got to go to work. I got my nearest over there, and one of the days when I don't have to go to work after this, I'm gonna put the nearest in. But this is just my coffee for tonight. In our last our little impromptu that we had last week, one thing you had mentioned, I had talked about, of course, now I forget, but the premise was, okay, here we go. When you talked about opening our own doors, right? Yes. Some of my friends saw that, and I think they got the wrong gist of who you're talking to, but nevertheless, Dr. Kanye's welcome. How you doing, sir?
Hey, Doc.
I had to sit back and digest that a little bit, because I had to think about to myself, that used to be my mentality when I was younger. Mm-hmm. And why do I say that? I think, and this is, and maybe some of you all that I am, 50 and over, even though a lot of times our generation or the generation, because I remember telling my parents or telling somebody else, hey, y'all need to do this, or we was up on the technology at the time. Mm-hmm. And I see how we kind of get stuck. And this stems from a conversation I had a while back where a lot of older people, no matter what whatever particular thing they're doing, got an issue with the younger folks and how things are going. So we're talking about that conversation, and I'm like, yeah, why am I fighting for a seat at a table when I can build my own? Why am I really doing all that energy there if I put as much energy in my own thing with my, with people of like-mindedness,
Hmm.
we can build ourselves. I look at what Issa Rae in television. What's the new girl that's in what's the name Academy? Abbott's Academy. These people, Kugler. These
Oh
people
yeah,
are doing things.
Jordan Peele, so many people.
Yeah, they're doing things without necessarily sitting at the same table. So it opened up my eyes a little bit to see how really old I am. Because even though I still got that, I still got a little bit of that noose on me. That's not the wrong thing to say. I still got a little bit of that weight on me. That's a better way to say it.
Hmm.
Breaking that mindset. And that's why I think it's good for when we're in, whether it's barbecue, whether it's business, to listen to our younger counterparts and not be so can't teach your old dog new tricks type of thing.
Yeah.
And it was somewhat of an epiphany to me to see how far back I've what I want to say I've been holding back per se because of the old mindset.
Yeah.
And with people like you, people like Dr. Conyers, people, all of the people that came through here, Keyless, just the things that you all are doing socially, the things that you are doing with video, the things that you are doing um, with technology here, even when I thought I had a grasp on it, it's way over my head. So I go around that to say um, I appreciate everyone's input into what they're doing.
Mm.
And I hope that people that are like me don't disregard, not that you all still probably bum rush them anyway, but don't disregard the wisdom that you have at you all's ages.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Agreed.
I tell people all the time, in age, I'm older than most. Um, but serious barbecue hasn't been a 20-year thing for me. You see what I mean?
I get it.
So to learn from you or Dr. Conyers, I'm gonna sit down and be the student. And I think, unfortunately, that people of my age group don't do that as much. So if there are people here in the chat, in the room, whoever see this on a replay, um, put your pride aside. Listen to what the people have to say, because it's not about as much as natural age. It's just as much as what you've done, what you've been through, and how long you've been through it. So I guess it's another thing. Thank you for that, because that kind of put me, I don't want to say it put me in my place, but it kind of reminded me, it gave me a reality check again
Yeah.
of how things work. And that's what I love about these particular conversations. And that was way too long. Sorry.
No, that's what it's supposed to be. That's what it's supposed to be. I think, I guess touching on that, there's always going to be a moment in time where things shift a little bit, where you go from being somewhat, not a know-it-all, but very keen on everything, to when
Mm-hmm.
someone else reminds you of something, and you just, like you said, you just have to set that pride aside, because pride is the most dangerous sin for a reason.
Yep.
And pride and fear and self-doubt, crush more dreams than failure does. But if you can put that to the side and say, and realize, hey, there may be something that this guy's gone through or experienced or what have you. And I don't have a fire story where I have a lineage of barbecuers. My grandfather, we come from fishermen. I'm an ocean guy, it's all fishing. And it wasn't the traditional barbecue, but it was open fire. And that's what I know. And those are the techniques I build upon and I share. So I may not have, the great grandfather who taught the grandfather and the dad and all of that. But what I do have is a hunger for knowledge and information and a tenacity and a drive, that is very hard to beat. I
Mm-hmm.
will completely submerge myself into a subject. I'll do whatever I can, not to be the best at it, but know how to do it the best that I can do it, and then continue to grow on that. And barbecue is one of those things. I could live 100 lifetimes and I wouldn't know it all. But then you've got cats like Pops, aka Kevin Bloodsoe, who has probably forgotten more about barbecue than I'll ever learn. You've got
Right.
guys that I love to call, friends and colleagues now, like Rodney Scott and Sam Jones, who have forgotten more about whole hog cooking than I can pick up in any book anywhere, you know. But getting to see those experiences up close and in person and working hands-on, it's something. This isn't for everybody, Media and
Hmm.
television definitely glamorizes what we do, and they don't shed light on how it started and literally the back breaking and skin ripping work of how it got here. This is very cute now. It's very cute to turn
Yeah.
a dial and start it and put a brisket in. And I'm a pit master because I put some, gerbil food in the thing and came back a couple hours later. Um, it's very cute to barbecue, but when you're rolling smoke, when you're splitting wood, when you're doing all this, it's laborious work. And
Hmm.
I remember when I got like my sort of first break after the show, and it took a phone call from a buddy telling me, because I suffered from imposter syndrome. And I was like, I'm not old enough to do this. And he had to come and tell me, he's like, Sheed, these people saw the show, but I've seen the work you've put in for years. You would do your IT gig 12 hours. You'd have a pop-up the next day. You'd finish that. You're splitting wood. You're rolling smoke all day. You're prepping. You're loading. And then you're going to go do your gig and you'll be booked up all weekend and you do it all over again. The show doesn't really tell any backstory and I don't do interviews, so I don't think anyone would know. So um, the push for all of this just came with hustle and drive. I didn't start on the side of the road or at gas stations, and I don't knock anyone who does, but I had a
Hmm.
clear vision in mind when I said, all right, I'm going to go for this. So I started doing um, vineyards and wineries and chateaus. I think I was the only guy rolling smoke, around multi-seven-figure guys at these, that were getting booked to do these wine and vineyard tastings because I realized if I want to elevate the craft and the art and where I am in the audience, I have to start as high as I could reach at that time. And that was presenting myself to wineries and vineyards. And my
Hmm.
first break was at a brewery. But after that, I took it and went to wineries and started doing wine and smoked meat pairings, barbecue charcuterie, if you would. And I wasn't just doing pulled pork. I was experimenting doing different types of brines and pastrami's with briskets. I was doing lambs and different curries and cuts. I was dehydrating. I was making charcuterie smoked goods as best as I knew how because I knew that was different. And literally no one in Georgia was doing it at that time. So
Wow.
I swung for the fences and made that work. And then it came to, you know, how do I grow this business past that to just, I started hitting the brewery circuit. And I always tell people, you're going to get a million and one no's. I literally
Hmm.
sat on the phone and cold called breweries every single day. No, no, no. And I said, okay, my food's good. I'm doing something wrong. I took a step back and I realized I'm just trying to take something, but I'm not offering anything. So I switched my approach and I said, okay, um, hey guys, my name's Rasheed Philips. I'd love to come feed you and your staff. Let me know when is a good day for you. And it's like, wait, what? It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, no catch, no anything. I just want to feed you and your staff. I'm starting out, but before I ask for your business, I want to take care of you guys and see if we're fit. I started getting a lot more yeses. And my first big break from that approach occurred at a brewery. I went to feed the staff. They loved the food, and I had extra to feed the patrons that were there. Once again, this was all at a cost to me. One of the patrons that I fed happened to be the dean of a very prestigious private school in Alpharetta. I mean, like you need their their tuition's like six figures for these kids. And
Wow.
he said he loved the food and would love to have me over at his school. And I was like, okay, no pun intended. I thought it was blowing smoke. But, I gave him my info and he gave me his. And this was a Friday and he sent me an email Monday. He's like, hey, we've got a game Thursday. I want to lock you guys in. I want you to be our food option because the parents want food. The games go late. Can you be there? That was my very first $10,000 signing gig. And it probably cost me $150 in food and some time, but I didn't know it was going to be that gig. I just went out to showcase what I could do, and I was cordial and nice to everyone. And this person was receptive of that, saw my effort, and offered me that gig. And that gig was my first $10,000 reoccurring show. I would come up every couple of days, 2 to 3 times a week. I would provide food for the players and their parents. Mind you, the 10,000 was just a book fee to have me there. I still made profit on whatever I sold. And doing that pop-up made me so aware of so many things. I learned so much business etiquette and tools and processing so quickly from that. And I took that knowledge and I ran with it and I doubled it down, And that's just one of those little nuggets that, some people are like, well, I'm losing money in this. I got to make it. No, the money will come, but you've got to just put yourself out there. I heard so many no's. I mean, so many no's, but I didn't let it deter me because I knew I had a good product. There's a good saying that I really love. Originated from, I think it was, son of somebody, and then Kennedy flipped it and made it his own. And it says, success has a million fathers, but failure is an orphan. And I really dig that, and I hope y'all let that marinate for a bit, but it's a good one. Success has a million fathers, but failure is an orphan. And I think what definitely makes me different is I lean into failure like you wouldn't believe, because I know what's coming at the end of that is some knowledge that I'm going to be able to take to the next level. That was a long answer, but yeah.
Man, look here. I guess we're both long-winded. How about that? That's good for a show, though. Failure. I used to be, I was always a failure because I was looked at as a failure. And not to my, I've talked openly with my parents about this and, whatever around. I mean, here again, being in the age group that I am back in the day, having a diagnosis of ADD, ADHD was not, you don't do that. You don't talk about the house because you ride in the yellow bus, and I'm not going to have my kid ride the yellow bus and all that, the short bus and all that kind of stuff. And it was a total different mindset then than it is now. Now, do I think they overly medicate a lot of kids? Yeah, I do. I think sometimes it's just lack of structure, too much sugar, and some other things. But then there's some legitimacies here. So for most of my life until about 43, it was an issue for me that it was undiagnosed. Destroyed my marriage. I could look and tell you how many jobs I lost and everything and then some. And even from a child of not knowing this, so I would end up in my life trying too hard. And in the business I tried to do, I mean, all I knew from my dad was entrepreneurship. He had his own barbershop. He did his own thing. He never liked working for people much at all. I didn't know what his struggles was. My mom did the steady 9-to-5 thing. So my mindset would be to try to succeed so well to counteract the failure. I didn't embrace the failure because of the way that it was brought to me as a child. It wasn't only until older and understanding things like you just said, it's going to happen. It's going to be, we hear stories of, I remember Keebler telling me how he just blew up. I mean, all his briskets got caught on fire for, a friend. I remember you saying how you forgot something, who was Zilla? He $2,000 worth of food, you only sell like $200. I mean, or just different things, but they're learning. Learning to embrace failure. And I don't think that's something that a lot of people want to do nowadays. Everybody wants to be successful real early because, like you said before, it seems like things were being made so much easier, but embracing that failure just catapults you so much farther
It really
and where
does.
you can go.
It does.
Um, and I wish, here again, if it's, well, as I say, if It's and Butts was candy and nuts, it'd be a good Christmas too. My old math teacher used to tell me that. And why I remember that specifically, I don't know, but he did.
It's funny what sticks with
Um, yeah, it is. And everything else, I don't even remember the man's name, but I remember that. Um, but, probably could I have been farther along a lot of different things at that point? Maybe, sure, yeah, but things are the way that they are. Um, I'm thankful that in this venture and this passion with me that it's cool. You know what I'm saying? I'm able to do that and then move forward. But for all of us that are in any endeavor, at work, our 9 to 5s, our passion, that embracing of failure is key. Because the main thing is what? Learn from it and just attempt not to do it again.
yeah.
Just you didn't learn from that thing. You didn't know now, okay, so I can't do that. This is not a good mixture, blah, blah, blah. And let's move forward. And you mentioned about the ethic. Now, there's been a lot of talk recently, of course, pop culture about somebody who has a television show who was born, kind of glitzy rich, telling people, women, that they don't work.
Hmm.
So, which is difficult it's difficult to hear that coming from that particular vessel.
Yes, very, very.
Yeah.
But the doc and I, and others, we chat, and to say that people don't work, it's it's hard to work in a system that never valued your effort in the first place, much less recognized you or the effort that you put into it. That being said, if you spend the rest of your life blaming the system, nothing is going to change. I coming to the States, I learned a lot of lessons very early, and as I matured, more and more came.
Hmm.
I'm 6'6". I'm built like a linebacker. I've got locks down my back. I'm a black man, but I'm a dark-skinned black man. Don't let this slide and fool you. It's set on warm. But I'm about 11:58, 2 minutes to midnight on the right day.
You a
And
scary you are a scary man
I
in
am.
our place of residence. Yes.
I am. Especially if you saw where my offices are, I stick out, and everyone can tell you where the offices are that are here because I'm the only one here. But I put my offices here for a reason, so that
Hmm.
they're going to have to get used to seeing me because if I do my job right, more will be coming. And
Hmm.
it took me a long time to love my skin and the skin that I'm in now. But I say all of that to go back to the comment of when you're told to work, the system isn't built for us. We were never categorically involved, counted, or measured in the system. So we can't really work for the system. That
Hmm.
being said, if you're waiting for someone to hand you something, you are outside of your mind. I'll let you know this right now. If they were to do the 40 acres and a mule, it would bankrupt the US. Like it would be in debt. They would never be able to do it. So it will never happen. They are never going to give you any money, any land, acknowledge anything wrong, give you an apology or anything. And you hear that keyword I keep saying in there is give. Nothing is given. People and businesses only respect take. I'm going to run that back by you one more time. People, businesses, and governments and systems only respect take. Why? Because when someone gives you something, you're like, cool, but I guarantee you, if I come over into your house right now and I take those glasses off your head, you're going to feel some type of way about it. And then on my
Hmm.
way out, I take something out of the fridge, you go, wait a minute, what's going on? You're going to pay more attention. And then as I close the door, I just take the floor mat and keep going. Because I've taken so much from you, you recognize me now. You see me now. You acknowledge my presence now. You can ignore me if I give you something, but if I take something from you, I immediately stand out. So what do? You take control. How? You take market share. You take your money elsewhere. You take whatever you were giving, you start taking. It's
Hmm.
that simple. I learned that after the show. I reached out to a brand. I said, hey, I'd love to partner and work and do this and that. And I was told I was not the face they wanted to represent their brand. Cool. I was trying to have you give me something. Now you've been locked in my crosshairs for 2 years, and I'm going to take every last bit of you that I possibly can.
This is my favorite. I love this. I mean, I can't tell you how much I love to hear that.
Because despite the smile, I am a petty, petty man, and I will literally dismantle your business piece by piece. And it'll just be very, very slow. Before you realize it, you look up and I'm everywhere, and you're like, well, ain't that about a bitch? Kind of going on that one. and that's how it goes. So where she's saying, you're not working, no, you can't say you work, because your definition of work is opulence. You don't realize what the level of work and effort is. You say you want, everyone's got, just like certain sayings don't make sense to me. We've all got the same 24 hours.
No, we don't.
No, we don't.
No, we
We
don't.
legitimately don't. That person who has that 24 hours, they've got an assistant who has 2 assistants for their assistants. They've got a private chef. They've got a trainer. They've got a driver. They have a whole board and team that does everything that needs to be done, so they get to focus on what they want. So no, we don't have the same 24 hours, but it is up to you to make the needed sacrifices that are necessary to get you to that level of having the same 24 hours. Got to wake up earlier? Okay, you can't sleep 8 hours a day. I would have no business if I sleep 8 hours a day. I happily keep rolling with 4 to 6, and I'm good with it because I get a lot more done. It's very quiet in the mornings when I'm doing what I have to do. I get to work out, I get ahead, and boom, there you go. But I think it's very ignorant of someone to state that people aren't working hard enough, and that's why things are going. When you have a single mother who probably has done more in a week than you've completed in an entire year with your assistants and businesses and all that. And that's not to belittle anything that person has created, because they took an opportunity, no matter what their route or jumping off point was, and they ran with it. But just because you've gotten to the top doesn't give you the right to look down upon others you passed on the way up there.
Now, you talked about working in the system, and one of the things that, because my wife and I talked about this before, the pandemic shifted a lot of things. Everybody, nobody wants to come to work. Well, they don't want to work for you.
Yeah,
is what's happening. There were a lot of, especially, I can't remember where I got the numbers from, but there were a lot of businesses, small businesses, that opened and started to bloom during the pandemic.
sure.
And those are the people that had quit jobs and started to do their own thing. Excuse me, I'm sorry. And we, as in people of color, were a huge part of that.
Yeah.
So when you talk about nobody wants to work and get off your A and work and blah, 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 I'm just not working within, like you said, that particular system that didn't want to count me out anyway. So making my own table, as we discussed last week, and doing my thing. And I think that for them, or, the system that be, per se, is more damaging, because yes, at that point, we are taking more. And I love that analogy. And yes, because if somebody did that, you are going to give them more. Not because now for what you think you have, I'll give you the little bit that I can, I don't really care about. But now you're taking something from what I care about. So yes, you're going to be on my radar.
Exactly.
And I think those of us that are doing that, who've taken their passion to full time, those who quit their IT job, after a show and just started to blow up because they were doing their own path, things like that. People take notice, and I will never, ever, every time I hear that story, it just brings joy to my petty heart. George, because, there was a little motivation in everything. Jordan was a man of motivation. He didn't, okay, you got the coffee cup in the wrong hand. He'll use that to do what he did. Now, are all of us that bad? No, but there are some things that just, it just makes your back hairs, and I ain't got back hairs. I'm just saying this as a little thing. It just makes it, just tense it up. Like, really? This is what you're gonna do to me? This is what you're gonna? Okay, if that's the case, let me show you. And it's those things that I hope that you know, the level of pettiness, I'm not saying you got to be petty, but for entrepreneurs out there and whatever that they're doing, that you got to understand, people are going to say all this crazy stuff all the time for
Yeah.
us, whether we're famous, not famous, starting, not starting. But let's show them different.
Yes.
Let's show them that their words are not going to be done as it is. You know, there was one thing, a guy from, I was in some kind of barbecue group, I can't remember, and this was pettiness of me. A friend, I'm gonna share that story private. I won't share that now. But
All right.
anyway, bottom line is that I made my own room. How about that?
There
Well,
you go.
that was the end of the story. I made my own room, and it's doing very well, which I'm very very proud of. Um, but as entrepreneurs, whether we're in barbecue or not, we got to have a little bit of that chip on our shoulder.
You do. And it has to be uh, motivating, because I always laugh whenever I'll overhear someone say, you know, there's not money in X, Y, and Z, or there's not money in barbecue, or there's not this. Um, I said it earlier because it was necessary, but competency and comprehension go hand in hand. And if you're an entrepreneur, you need to understand that competency and comprehension is the difference between $12,000 a year and $120,000 a year partnership contract. That's what competency and comprehension can do for you. And as an entrepreneur, you have to be able to admit and understand your faults and seek out help, which can be hard. You know, everyone wants to reach up. You need to reach across first. Get to know someone else in your region, and build and stack and move that way, because then you're as a larger whole, you're stronger. I think that is a part that's often missed, and I'll speak on it in regards to the barbecue community specifically. It's a multi-billion-dollar business. When you have places like Blackwater and the Peyton Manning family using their escrow company to buy barbecue businesses and invest left and right. They bought one of my partners. A couple other companies bought some of the partners I'm with. People like that don't spend money to lose it. They're buying it because they know there's money there. So you got to start paying attention. Don't. There's a whole thing called the Charleston Shuffle, which is where it's a magic trick where I'm having you look over here while this hand's doing what needs to be done. Don't get too distracted. You know, if they're really shoving something at you, take a step back and look around and see, like, all right, what am I not seeing here? Like, oh, Weber's listed on the IPO, like they're doing this. Well, look at it this way. What is every Weber made out of? Metal. Is Weber going to stop making Weber kettles? No. You should probably start looking at what companies they use to source their metal, and then see if those listed companies are owned by a larger entity that's publicly traded. And then you buy that stock and you just hang out. Why? Because Weber's not going to close their doors. They're going to keep making
Keep
things.
going.
There's so much depth and levels to the business part of this that sometimes it's frightening. You know, I spoke on my podcast that this year there's 2.5% less cattle. Oh, that's not bad. That's about 9.5 million less cows. That's a lot less briskets, a lot less ribs, a lot less ribeyes, a lot less of everything. So that means, hey, should probably start doing a little bit of digging and research and figure out what's happening. But that's the business side of all that stuff that I can talk about forever. But as an entrepreneur and as someone in barbecue, you have to know multiple facets. You can't be a pit master if all you can cook on is a Traeger or a rig that you have to plug in. That's not going to work. I don't care what you are. I'm gonna put that out there. It can't be if that's your only go-to. If you can't stack a fire, if you can't split a stack, if you can't identify your wood, a pit master, you're a farmer, you're a scientist, you're a botanist, you're an arborist, you're a craftsman, you're an engineer, you're a whole lot of things, because it takes a lot of that stuff to make it work. I just recently stopped splitting my own wood, and Rodney gave me crap for it because his Netflix show aired a month before my show aired, and that day I'd had someone offered to start supplying me wood. I was like, okay, I'll think about it. And then his Netflix show aired, and he said that he just stopped splitting wood. And I called him after. I was like, Ron, you realize I just got an offer for wood, and now I'm finding out you were just stopped splitting. So I told him no. He's like, yeah. So I literally, up until a few months ago, I was still splitting, and I still do go out and source my own wood. That was one of the hustles that I did when I started. So I'll give you guys game. So if anybody in here is in here listening for barbecue, take notes, get a pen. These next 4 or 5 bullet points is all game for barbecue, how I started, my tips and tricks. If you're running a rig that uses wood, like I did and am, you need wood, you need fuel. Try to find free wood. Well, how do you find free wood? Craigslist. Whenever there's a horrible storm, get on Craigslist the very next morning and start searching for free wood. Look for firewood, look for storm, and you'll see so many people like, this tree fell, who wants it? I can't tell you, I've never bought wood. I've never paid for a single split. Why? Because I got on Craigslist and I realized that wood is expensive, but if I can acquire it by just putting in some elbow grease, I can keep my costs low. So I would go on Craigslist. It was a ridiculous storm last week. I still went on Craigslist and found some people who had fallen trees. I was like, hey, I'll be over. Why? Because I'm still not too big to swing an axe and split some stacks. That's me. I'm perfectly fine with it. I love it. It's a great workout routine. So that's what I did to lower my costs. I started sourcing my own wood and got it for free. And that was one less cost that I had to pass on to the customer. So that allows me to keep my product costs low. Cool. So you got your wood, you've got your fuel, you're trying to get more customers. Pop-ups work, but you never know how much money you're going to make, right? Try to find ways to get a guaranteed reoccurring income. How do you do that? Tip number 2. What I did was I was at the dealership buying a truck, and it was a Saturday, and I realized these guys haven't left, but they're eating. Like, what's going on? And they said, oh yeah, we order in on weekends because it costs the dealership more money when the employees leave, and it's cheaper for them to order in to have them. I said, cool, yeah, I'm gonna take the big red one over there and I'll be back tomorrow. So I made a ton of food. I got my stamps, I got my bags, I got my to-go containers, I made sure everything had my name and logo on it, and I made a lot of them. And every dealership I dropped off 3 bags. I'm gonna tell you why you need 3 bags. 1 bag has to be for the front desk, because you ain't getting nowhere if you don't take care of the ladies at the front desk, because they are traffic controlled. No one in that building move without their say-so. Who's next up on deck? What's been sold? What's coming in? Those ladies run it. So I made 3 bags, 1 for them. Second bag was for the GM over sales. Third bag was for the manager over auto repair, right? So you bring your car and get your oil change, your tires. Manager, he's got his team. And I made sure they got that so they could try it, test it out. And I went up and down my strip where all the dealerships are. It's like dealership lane. There's probably like 15 dealerships there. And I spent an entire day doing that, dropping it off with the menu. 2 days later, I went and I followed back up. I had my shirt on. They recognized it because I had my logo, and it was the same logo that dropped off the Bomb Barbecue. And I said, hey, however much you guys are paying for your lunches, let me give it to you guys, $50 less for the first go around. Let me know if you like it. Oh, honey, we love it. Okay, great. I did that. 12 out of the 15 said yes when I made my second round. Now what did I do? I just went from having to worry about making maybe $500 to $1,000 profit on a pop-up, maybe if I get there, to solidifying $500, $600, $800 per dealership order. I started bringing in thousands for 1 day's cook, because all I was doing was one giant cook, portioning it out, setting up times for drop off, and being on my way. I don't have to worry about anything. I don't have to set up and serve. Nope. Here's your guys' food. Boom. I'm off to the next one. And I did that continuously. And that's how I built up that capital. Third bit, I mentioned it, how I stamped everything. I put my logo on everything. I told you I'm 6'6". I'm a walking billboard. You're going to look at me one way or another, I might as well give you something to look at. So I would always wear my shirt with my logo on it. I can't afford all that. You've got $12.99. You can go to Vistaprint. You can Google Vistaprint discount code and get it for like $9.99. Get one or two of them, either embroidered or screen printed with your logo, rotate them out, get them in a different color, and start shopping. Go around. You've got to get out there and hit the ground running. But I was able to do those things by sourcing my own wood, getting out there, marketing, dropping off the product with kids. And to this day, a lot of these places still order, but I don't do it anymore. I've got my guys out run and drop that. But those were just some of the first three things I would suggest someone who's out there do, because they make sense. I know somebody over there's like, oh, I got a dealership. I got somebody, or you know somebody who has a dealership, or you've bought a car. If you've bought a car from a dealership, go back there. Hey, I've given you guys my business. I'd like a shot for you guys to give me yours. But bring something to drop off. Bring something they can take, and make sure it looks good. Make sure everything's right. Get you some proper containers. Make sure the presentation is immaculate, because that's your first shot. And then you just keep going from there. Hope that helps somebody somewhere.
So let me see here. Somebody jot this down in the comments for me. We got free wood. Check the Craigslist. Yep. Free wood, because wood, especially if you're running those stick burners. I just spent some money on some apple just not too long ago. So check out Craigslist, especially after a big storm. That was tip number 1. 2, pop-ups are good, but constant gigs are better.
Yes, sir.
Constant gigs are better. He gave you the advice on the. Now, a friend of mine here, Roy, he was like Bedford Auto Mile. That was my high school friend, and we have this long stretch. They call it the Bedford Auto Mile, just of car dealerships everywhere. Yeah. So, Roy, we're gonna be hitting up Bedford Auto Mile, but constant gigs, and then
because you have that stretch. Imagine you've got. We'll keep the math simple. Imagine you've got 10 dealerships that say yes out of that whole stretch, and you're charging them $500. And these dealerships, it's for everybody. There's 80 guys in there. You know, sometimes between the mechanics and all, it's a lot of bodies. So you look at that and you're like, oh, well, that's not. I'm only making this or this. No, you're doing one big cook, one fire up. That's it. And then you're breaking it down. And maybe you break even on the first one. Hey, there's 4 weekends in a month.
Yes.
So if your first weekend is breaking even, you got 3 weekends of profit. Oh, and guess what? 80 guys. Well, someone's got a birthday party, a bachelor party. Someone's got a kid's birthday party.
Right,
someone needs something for Christmas. Someone needs something for Thanksgiving.
Build on it.
There you go. I'm gonna give you all one more. One more. I'm gonna say this aside from there. I'll probably end up giving. That's a lot. I'm probably gonna give you guys a lot more. But the next one is when you get to the level where you can start shipping your items. Talk to the people who ship your items. My post office people, they know me by name. I know them, Miss Name. Shout out, Miss Johnson. I doubt you're watching. You don't have Instagram, but if you are, talk to them, and I bring them food. I do the same thing. I bring them lunch. Why? Because they ship my packages and they make sure they get where they have to go. That's why. And whenever people see that in line and holidays are around, what are they doing? Oh, you need food? Oh, honey, let me get you so-and-so's card. He's great. You probably saw him here drop off food once before. Barbecue guy. Yeah. Last year, I can't tell you how many gigs I got just from the post office. Just from the post office. Like, I didn't have to put anything out. When I told her I was going to do it, she said, I got you, sweetie. The post office alone met my quota that I had. I was like, well, I got to sort of open this up to the rest of the world now. So, but just from the post office. So talk to people, network. Wherever people are is potential business. Nothing can be sold if they don't know it's for sale.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is gonna be okay. We had the first two. What was it? Oh, the third one, and this is what I'm trying to get better at too. Is I got little cards that I try to write on or whatever when I put in the bag. but I do want to get stickers as well.
Mm-hmm.
But the next one is put logo on everything. Put that in chat, y'all. Put logo on everything. That's tip number 3. So make sure, I think the last time that we talked, when you and Richard were on, he was like, make sure you told him if they're taking the picture, make sure your logo is somewhere so they know where they got that food from. Because, we post a lot of our pictures and things. How many people really, really read everything underneath it? We just see the picture and kind of like and move on.
And keep it moving, yep.
Yeah. And then we got a bonus here is to talk to people that ship your stuff. If you're shipping, a lot of people here were, start to do, some rubs or things or just little things, merch, anything like that. Get to your post office, talk to them, feed them. And I hope y'all get an undertoning line of, and this is hard for any startup. There's going to be a lot of sacrifice of finances here.
Yeah.
Because you're going to basically be giving away food. But you're banking on, look, we all believe our barbecue is the bomb. I do too. If you don't like it, I don't know why you don't. You must be crazy, silly, and cuckoo because it's my barbecue.
Exactly.
But ain't nobody gonna know how it tastes until they don't get it. And anybody take a free couple bones, whatever, pulled pork, blah, 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 blah. And if they get a hint of what you have, yes, it's a sacrifice. Yes, it's gonna, put a little hole in your pocket at first. But look at what you can, in the end, get in return.
Yes.
But isn't that what sacrifice is about, though? Sacrificing something now for the, as they say, the greater good in the beginning. And what entrepreneur journey does not have that? How many stories have we heard? Not that you went broke, but how many stories maxed all my credit cards, still all this or whatever. But now, you got $1 million company.
Yeah, and I'm very honored to say that I have that, It's very, and I'll just tweak certain things. So the doc reminded me of this, and it's a lesson that I can't believe I forgot. And I slipped up on a chat, and he was completely right because we talked after. Words matter, and I would just tweak your lexicon a bit to shift it from sacrifice to investment because you are a entrepreneur.
Yes.
Everything is an investment, and everything ends up with an ROI. So words matter. So what are you investing, and what is your ROI, which is your return on that investment? I'll give you the nutshell version of how it all went down. My very first pop-up was at Creature Comforts in Athens. It started on a failure. The night before, the commissary power had gone out sometime earlier in the day, and the fridges never closed, and all my meat went bad. I'm supposed to be at this venue in like 9 hours to start cooking and doing, for which they did not tell me was the Georgia opening game. All my meat went bad. When I tell you, I gave myself 5 minutes. I sat down in front of the fridge and I said, all right, is this you telling me not to do it, or are you trying to see how bad I want it? Well, mom and raised no punk, so let's get to work. I hit up every Walmart, every store I could to try to get anything that was open because it was late. Stayed up seasoning, prepping, did it all over. Went, by the time I was done, it was time to leave. Headed out to the venue, started rolling smoke. We had a line, if anyone's ever been to Creature Comforts, we had a line literally wrapped around the building. It was so many people there. The owner came out and was like, what are you putting in food? We do beer releases and we've never seen this many people before. And that's when I knew. And I said, okay, cool. I got to make that investment. That's why I'm doing my whole giveaway, which I'll be actually, and I'll get you to pick a number later and we'll figure out who won the giveaway. But I started the business with $472. I'm a Jamaican, and any island or anywhere, we've all got that water jug in the corner where you just drop change in. You just keep it moving. You don't even think about it. Yeah. And I had that jug for years. And I said, I'm not going to go into my savings. I work for Apple. I had stock. I've got all this stuff. I was like, no, if I want to start the business, this is what it's going to be with. Whatever amount I have here, that's what I start the business with. I went to a store. I went to a bank. And another tip, I think, what is this, tip 5? Wait until you grow. But when you're starting out, go to your local bank to open up your account because they appreciate your money more than a Chase or Bank of America or whatever. When you get to a certain level, you can shift things over. And I'm only saying this because I started with a local bank, and then we started grossing obscene amounts, and I went to a larger one because they started to offer me more perks. But I still do little things through my bank for holdings and what. But that's a whole nother podcast.
And I would just add on to that, if I could, your
Please.
credit unions. If you have local black-owned credit unions, use them. Yes, please go.
Yeah. So I went there. I used their Coinstar machine that didn't have any payout, like depreciation. Like if you go to a Kroger, they want 10 to 15%. They had one that didn't take any percentage. Tallied it all up, was like $472.30 odd. I used that money, opened up a business account. I got myself some checks because I'd already got my EIN and filed my LLC and all that. And that was the money I started business with. I've been flipping that same $472 into a multi-million-dollar business now. That's all it's been. So all it's been, $472. So when I put out the contest of gifting someone $472 and a 20-minute phone call, I meant it. I know it can work because that's what I was able to go with. I didn't have outside investors. None of my businesses have ever been in debt. They're all cash flow positive, and they all funnel into one another. That's very, very big and very important to me, to have staff and crew and be able to do things. And it wasn't always like this. I remember I was looking to get a trailer, and I was like, God, that trailer is so expensive. Like I don't, the businesses are starting, we're doing okay, but I can't do a trailer right now. Maybe a year and a half later, business has really been picking up and kicking in. And I just come across that invoice for that trailer, and I laugh, and my buddy's with me. He's like, what's so funny? I said, man, a little over a year ago, I couldn't even imagine getting this trailer. He's like, yeah, but what's so funny? I said, man, that trailer cost is what we spend on brisket in a couple of weeks now. He's like, really? He's like, yeah. And that's the growth.
That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money.
It is. It is a lot of money, but that's the growth. I remember getting 2 briskets. Like, yo, what am I going to do with 2 briskets? I've got to move this? Okay, all right, let's do something, And then you go to 2 briskets to a case. Then you go from a case to being the guy that's wheeling out a pallet of brisket from Costco. Like they're just dumping it into the truck, and you just keep growing from there. But you have to keep working. I could share all the failures with you. I've shown up to events, forgot my main kit. One of the pop-ups I did at the school when I first started, the wind was so crazy, it literally snapped my tent setup in half and tables went flying with grub. I have been burnt. There's no pitmaster in the history of the world that's never burned themselves on their rigs. I've had grease fires. I've had rotted wood that I've chopped and brought back that was filled with ants and had to dump the whole load because I couldn't do anything with it. I've been double booked for events where the person who booked me didn't realize they'd had someone else there, and I'm losing out on share because now there's 2 people in the same space and I'm not making as much. I've had cancellations at the last minute. I've had people cancel stuff and not be able to get the retainer or deposits for it. 6, there is a legal difference between retainer and deposit. Deposit's refundable, retainer's not. Remember that. There's a lot that happens. Oh yeah, I had a helper. The first time I bring out my jerk sauce for sale, he decides to start playing hacky sack with my bottles of jerk sauce and breaks them all. That's you, James. Shout out to Meat Titan. Miss you, brother. But I've had an obscene amount of failures, and I love and I remember them so much more than I do majority of the successes. I'll tell you, I've forgotten a lot of successes until people remind me. But I've had a lot of them. But at the root of it, I've been able to do a lot of fun stuff. My buddies Jen and everyone there from Tinder and Vino and Mark and Helvers, Beth, all of them. I love them all. They had an amazing. And this is another story of just being yourself and being kind helps. Met my buddy Mark and Jen. at a pop-up I was doing. Jen was there and she just looked fatigued, like just looked tired, like she just needed some grub. And I didn't think much of it. I made her a plate, dropped it off, was like, hey, we're all in this together. You know, I get it, it's been a long day, so how out here, eat this is on me, get yourself back. And I went about my day, finished up, started breaking down. Later in the day, this gentleman came over and he dropped off some cigars. They were selling cigars and other things. I was like, oh, I think you might have someone else. I didn't make that order, or maybe it was a customer of mine. He said, no, you took care of my lady when you didn't have to. She really needed it more than she realized, and I just want to say thank you. I was like, oh man, thank you so much. And we've become great friends. And they had a wine shop and cigar shop that they allowed me to host special events in. Once again, differentiating yourself from everyone else. So we started doing private ticketed events for tastings where if you missed one, you missed it, because the menu never repeated itself. It was once a month. And if you missed the porchetta in January, you gotta wait till next year. If you missed the smoked lamb, if you missed the curried honeyed mussels and clams, gotta wait till next year. The menu never repeated. And it was a very finite amount. It was get your tickets, get in. We did it, we paired it with wine and everyone enjoyed it. It was fun, but you've got to get creative with options and things like that. But you also have to treat everyone with just common decency. You never know who's who, and it shouldn't matter either which way.
Anyway, common decency is, it doesn't cost you anything.
It doesn't. And common decency has been the best thing I could have ever done for my business, because that's what's led to so many things, is just being nice and genuine and caring to people. That's it. I could have easily, when Richard reached out, I'm like, why would I help you? You're going to take my market share. That's stupid. No. Like, yeah, right here, let me help you out, because I don't want you to go. I remember the rig he had sent me. I was like, you don't want to get this one because of this, this, and this. Like, and I'm not trying to deter you. I'm not going to buy behind you, but these are the reasons why. Because he had a couple he was thinking of and he had sent them to me. And I was like, this one's better. I think he ended up with Hancock, which is what he's got now. I was like, yeah, those burn out too quick, and check for this and check for that. And I do the same. Even my buddy James, he met while I was recording a barbecue podcast at Atlanta Grill Company. And, I just, shook his hand and we talked and gave him some information. I can't get rid of him now if I wanted to. But just being decent to people is how it works. And I will, the tip 7, that's the biggest tip. You have to jump. The night that changed my life, I was doing some regional work, because I worked from home from Apple. I worked for them for 11 years. The last 6 were remote. And I'd gotten a phone call from Brian Furman. Shout out B. Go get his rubs, they're dope. And he said, hey, I got a couple of people here, and I'd never met B before. He gave me game before, but I'd never met him before. I said, he said, you come on down, I want you to meet some people, we can chop it up, I got time. But I was in literally a huge board call. I was like, I don't think I'm gonna make it. It was a week of the Super Bowl. I was like, hey, good to catch you tomorrow. He's like, yeah, I might be around. And I responded, I left it at that. And then something in me, I was like, no, I'm gonna go. Left, went down there, and that night changed the trajectory of my life, because I decided to jump that night. From that night, I talked to Matt Horn for hours. That was the first time I met Matt. We were talking till like 3 a.m. that day. I talked with B. We rapped all night, shared stories. And in the midst of the stories, this man looks at me. He's like, yo, what do you think of that rig? I was like, that's a big rig. It looks nice. And he goes, that's yours. I was like, no, mine's a small one back at the spot. He's like, no, you can have this one. Just come get it. It's yours. It's like, I don't really understand. He's like, well, you feed people for free, right? You do your Sunday churches rotation. You always hand out food. I was like, yeah. He's like, well, if you had a bigger rig, you could feed more. You can do more good. It's like, technically, yeah. He's like, well, that's yours. just come get it. I'm serious. It's like, I don't want anything for it. That's on you. And I was like, I probably argued with that man for a solid 45 minutes. Like, I can't take this. He's like, no. He's like, you do good things, right? Yeah. Do you do things to expect it back? No. All right, then. There you go. And I said, all right, cool. I'll accept it, but I'll always give back with it. And I literally, in all my contracts, I have what's called a B clause. It's named after B, where whatever any brand gives me, they have to be willing to give it again, because we're going to give it to someone else. You know, like when I work with Masterbuilt, they want to have me test something and give me these things. Cool. Here's a church. Here's a organization. And, you know, I was even able to support one of his friends' organization in Savannah, Wildcats. We gifted them a couple of smokers and rigs and got them set up. We've done giveaways for different churches. We've donated to different charities. But it's all off of that night where I decided to jump, and that changed my whole trajectory. My face on my bottles is from B, because he told me people need to know who you are. My business had a completely different name before I started. And he's like, I don't know who that is. And if you die on the way home tonight, somebody can get it and no one will know. He's like, people need to know your name and they need to see your face, because at the start of my business, you never knew who I was. And Rod Scott Barbecue was talking about how he had people unfollow him once they found out he was Black. That was my concern. I was like, I don't really need people losing business off of once they see what I look like in person. But I said, you know what? Oh, well, didn't want their money anyway. And that's why on every bottle, you see this rough exterior slapped on the side of it that comes with some spice inside and flavor. And that night is the moment that changed my life the most, because I decided to go 100% in on myself. Though I worked my corporate gig for another 2 years after that, I started to build my bridge for a way out. And that night triggered that, because I said, if I never made that initial jump or that investment, I never would have talked with Matt, because his flight was in the morning. I probably would have still talked to B, but I would have gotten that full collection of knowledge and just shared experiences and realized how many things are. And it's crazy how the whole world is intertwined, but I can't share their end of it and their business part of it. But it's there is literally no Rasheed Philips in this sense of people notoriety of that change without Dr. Howard Conyers. So it's you, Doc.
Now he asked
me what for a lot of guys that he hates talking about, and he'll humble it down all the way. But like my buddy Richard told me earlier today, you know, you got to enjoy these flowers when you can still smell them. So that's done for you.
Absolutely. And because we do it too late. But we have to learn how to accept them too. I think we have been taught a lot. Well, at least my generation, you know, keep your head down, put in the work, you know, whatever. Which you still have to do. Yeah. But there's something about acknowledgement. Sometimes we all need that at points in times, because you never know where a person is in their journey. And just that simple acknowledgement of what you helped with, or what you did for me, or this and that, can be the difference of you quitting your journey, stepping back from your journey, or moving on. So, you know, you give, absolutely. Yeah. But also be ready. That same open hand for giving is the same open hand you need to use for receiving. Exactly. And we need to be diligent in both of those. And I know it's difficult. And sometimes we deal with that false humility sometimes as well, too. But that's a whole nother different story. But yes, Dr. Conyers has been, even with this and me trying to have a foundation with getting history, information, building up on that. I was on his pages. I was taking his stuff, you know. So you never know who and what you've done for somebody. Yeah. And you're right. You need to tell them, as you know, why they're here now. Rasheed, you give gems. I'm just glad to see that the barbecue culture go forward. Amen. Amen. So we was only supposed to have 4.
I did, but I did press the 3 like there's probably going to be more than that. But you know.
Yep. But the jump. Wait, see, wait was five though. Um, now this was a local bank. We got that. Now I never knew anything about this, and we don't really have to go into it per se, but that is interesting, and we all need to look for ourselves. A retainer and a deposit.
Hmm.
I got deposit all under over my stuff because
Yeah, switch
if you
that.
see, here we go. This is the things that when you start off, or some things you just don't know.
You don't know what you don't know.
Absolutely.
You only know what you've learned. And the thing is, when you get into situations like this, and that's why I'm doing the giveaway. It's information and capital is what hinders a lot of us, because without sufficient amount of either one, you can't really get going. You
Hmm.
know. But there's things like that that you have to do to protect yourself, especially, and you got it right there, Doc. Words matter, especially when you get there. I'm still a very small fish in a big pond in this world of what barbecue does and the business side
Hmm.
of it. Um, and negotiating and traversing these planes, there is and so many opportunities there, but you have to create something and have that value for self. Businesses only buy out other businesses when there's enough noise. No one wants someone or a business that's disinterested,
Hmm.
but you've got to build it and keep pushing. And you've got to own, what is this, Gem 8? We'll put that at 8. And this is it. If you are in this live, and I'm gonna go back because I'm a screenshot. If you're in this live and you're in the barbecue business and you do not own your domain name, I swear I'm giving you till 12:01 tonight. If you don't, I'm buying it. Remember I said I was petty like 30 minutes ago? This is the petty.
Yes,
I'm buying it.
yes.
Own your domain name for your business and own your name.
Hmm. Hmm.
Own your name. You don't
Absolutely.
brand yourself. If you don't brand yourself, someone will brand you. Think of it.
And then all the
You
work you
look,
did, they can take.
yeah,
And then, but when they take it, people are looking at it from the work you did,
yeah.
not from what they get at this point in time. But that is, we should move. Okay, these are not in the order of importance or heaviness or longevity, but that would be up there near the top.
No, definitely.
Own your name.
And if history has taught us anything, ownership is important. Why?
Hmm.
They sure as hell fought a lot of wars to keep us. And
Absolutely.
what did they do? If you got away, cool. You were branded, you were marked. They knew exactly where to take you.
Would
So
it bring you
why
back?
not own your own brand, right?
Hmm.
It's extremely extreme. I can't tell you. I've
$12,
legitimately,
12.99 or less.
the difference between a good branding and owning it. I've literally done negotiations from a $2,000 offer to a $250,000 offer because I owned everything they thought that wasn't there. And that's a true story. Fun fact, the night Pops, Kevin Bledsoe, dubbed me the gentleman smoker, I
Mhm.
snagged my phone and I filed that trademark on the car ride back. You have
Mhm.
to own your brand and own yourself. Some of the saddest stories, Famous Dave, it's not white, he's Native American. Do your research. Fun fact. On both sides, grew up on the reservation, everything. Famous Dave doesn't own Famous Dave's. Doesn't own his name, doesn't own his image, doesn't own his likeness, anything. So someone over there owns it. I think Proctor does. Famous Amos can't do Famous Amos cookies. He doesn't own it. He got sued when he tried to. Colonel Sanders got sued when he tried to open up another chicken joint. Doesn't own it. Fun fact: the black woman you see at the Popeyes commercial, she's not the CEO. Stop believing this stupid marketing scheme. For the love of God, stop believing this stupid marketing scheme. A lot of what you think is owned. Aunt Jemima was never anyone's real aunt. She was just someone that got hired. Her family's not
Mhm.
excited and got paid in royalties. No, I don't even know if she had nieces and nephews, but she wasn't anybody's aunt. Um, Words matter is important because words matter for marketing and so much more. And as you're trying to build, you have to put that value on yourself, right? People only cheer once you succeed. That's when they're going to pay attention. So You may think, oh, I'm being underestimated. It's perfectly fine to be perceived as undervalued and underestimated. That is your best tool. That has been the best thing that worked for me, because then people take a step back and realize, oh, how does he do all this stuff? Because I own it. I've got my own media production company. We've got our reps going. We have multiple investment for things. There's so much going on. Like, why not? You're right. Don't forget McDonald's, which is literally everywhere. And Ray Kroc and everyone but anyone with the last name McDonald's owns a part of McDonald's. It's kind of crazy, right? You can build something, but build it and have your name. We'll put this at 9. Tip number 9, right? If anyone out there gets approached for a contract or a deal or partnership or whatever, get your Mac, get your PC, upload the contract, hit Command F or Control F and search for this word, perpetuity. If you see that word anywhere, highlight it, print it out, and study the lines before and after it like you're got a test the next day. That is a very dangerous word. Very, very dangerous. So look for that word, perpetuity. It is a like I said, is a difference between $12,000 and $120,000, right? So that is a very dangerous word thrown around these days, and be very, very, very cautious. Whenever you're dealing with someone, company, entity, and they ask for something, and your response is, cool, I want that same thing, and they say no, run. Because if they're willing to take it from you, but they're not willing to give it, run. I had a deal not go through with a very major corporation because they didn't want to give me the same thing they were asking for. I was like, oh, well, that's fine. I'm not going to, it sucks, but I'm not going to give you access to me to use in perpetuity. And some are like, I don't know what perpetuity means. Perpetuity means forever plus a day, and if God comes, it's a day after that too. That's what perpetuity means. That's what perpetuity means. It is a very dangerous word when it's not used to your advantage. So keep that in mind. And not every deal is a good deal. If you check,
no matter the dollar sign.
Yeah, you see my bio. There's no use code this for that. That's ridiculous. Why the heck do I want that? If I told you how many bad deals are out there, hey, we'll give you 5 or 10% off of this. Okay, cool, because I get to say it. All right, but your most expensive item is $100, so 10% of that is $10. So I have to sell 10 of your items to make $100 while you've 10x your profit, and you've got access to my analytics. You've made a gross margin by only having to pay me 10%. Wait, that deal doesn't sound as good as I thought it did. They gave me this thing. Okay, cool. How much money are you making? Yeah, but they gave me this thing. Yeah, I feel like but are you getting paid for this thing? Because they already have those things made. They didn't make that thing for you.
For you specifically.
It's there. So what do you get out of it? Just getting a product. Like, no one can book me with products. I'm like, I literally have enough money to buy multiples of whatever you're selling. I don't care. I'm good. Perfectly fine with it, you know? You've got to keep these things in mind and avoid these things. You're not going to see discount codes and stuff from me. When I partner, I'm like, yo, let's just get whatever it is we're trying to move as low as possible so these people can get it. And if you see it, I'll tell you, like, hey, this 25% you're getting is whatever they want to give me. I don't want it, so you take it. Go, get it in bulk. I'm very transparent with my dealings. And that's just what's worked for me and been the best value, is not saying yes to every deal, being okay with not getting the deal. I had someone, this producer reached out. They wanted me to be a part of this soul food cooking show. I read through the itinerary. I read through some of the stuff. I was like, I don't like where this is going. And it was for a huge network with a huge.
I wanted to get that. Take care, Dr. Connors. I wanted to get that streaming service for that show.
Yeah,
I have yet to do that, but I wanted to get that streaming service just for that show.
I did not do that show, and I'm so happy I didn't, because I've never seen glorified coonery like that before my entire life.
Is it that bad?
If you are singing gospel over collards and mac and greens, I'm definitely not the show for me. I'm not chucking and jiving for anybody. I'm gonna hang back, rub my butts, and play with fire. That's my world. But that's where I say not every opportunity that presents yourself you have to say yes to. It's not. You don't want to stress yourself too thin. It requires a team. I move with my guys. If I'm traveling, I've got two of my guys with me. I got my videographer, I got my photographer. I still do my edits, and we move in sync, small circle, and we all eat and move in stride. If I grow, we all grow. That's just how it works. So be okay with saying no. Don't feel forced to say, oh, I have to say yes because it's this company, right? Someone, Weber or whoever approached them with an affiliate thing. Affiliate links are like Google AdSense on some sites. You're going to make pennies on it for the level of work and effort you're going to put in there. It legitimately does not make sense most of the time unless you are like a previously mentioned celebrity that told people to work, that whenever they say they can move hundreds of thousands of product and they get percentage, cool, I get that. But if you've got a following and you may be able to make one or two, but now you're contractually bound to this brand for a year or 2 years, is it really worth it after that? Do you feel good about it? Money isn't everything. You'll get there eventually. You just have to think and work your way out of it. Instead of relying on their money, why don't you build something else? You want rubs? Make some dope rubs. Ship them out. You said it. People are afraid to have that investment up front, but you need to. Before I did the Creature Comforts pop-up, I would feed fire departments and police staff. I would just drop it off. And I have to tell this story because it's very pivotal to how I operate now. There's a wonderful young lady, Kira. She's my littlest, biggest fan. Love her so much. She had a profound impact in how I move. David McCarty was a pitmaster, black pitmaster, who was doing what I did when COVID started. He was going to his local police stations and fire stations and dropping off food and feeding everyone. In my area, I was just known as the barbecue fairy because no one knew who it was. There'd just be boxes of food that appeared at night. And it was me. And one day I get a message from her mom that broke my heart. And on my roughest days where I don't feel like it, this is what I think back to. Kira's she's very tiny, young, white, brunette girl, and I'm her best friend in the world. She's drawn me on school projects and, her best friend stuff. Her stuff's littered all throughout the office. She made me a turkey and glasses and stuff. They sit on my desk as a reminder. And she saw the news because that gentleman looked like me, and she started crying horribly because she thought it was me. And that broke my heart that this young child cares so much about this Caribbean Sasquatch that she's in tears because she thought something happened to me. I remember I could hear in the back, they killed Mr. She, they killed Mr. She. And I was like, what? And that moment, it hit me as, do I continue doing what I was doing? Do I continue going out to serve, our black and blue, the people putting themselves in the front when this is how we're being treated? And I said, yeah, I kind of have to, because this young lady looks up to me and sees the good that I'm doing, and I don't want her to stop seeing good because she's looking at me doing it. And I'm sure she sees it everywhere else, but I took it as, no, if I want, whenever she looks at me, I'm smiling and I'm giving back and I'm making a change. Smiling, giving back, and I'm making a change. And she had such a huge impact on me for 2020. And that's why I continue to do so much more as I possibly can. We've built, schools in Nairobi. We've donated for your cause. I host my yearly tour drive. We give to numerous other organizations and stuff that doesn't make it to the feed or whatever, just gets done. But a part of whatever it is you're going to do, you've got to build it on the foundation of giving, right? Can't give with a closed fist. You've got,
That's
so
number
paramount.
11.
It's so paramount to the growth of whatever you're doing. If you build giving from the base, from the very start, you're going to be good. I promise you, you won't fail. There's going to be some rough patches along the way. You're going to have that voice of doubt, questioning things. What are you doing? Trust me, I heard him. You're leaving this job. It's been over 10 years. You put a decade in. You're crazy. You know our community. You're leaving that good job. You know, got this. But to me, it's like I gave him 11 years. Why can't I bet on myself for 3 or 4 or 5? There's still a lot more runway ahead of me than there is behind. So all right, let's go for it and see what happens. And I know how hard I'm going to work. And if my level of success is strictly measured by the effort that I put into it. And I'm putting in everything I got. So something's going to happen. And that's how it goes. That's just my little 2 cents on the matter.
And that's what I tell people. Well, at least for me, you know, unlike you, I'm on the other side of that. I probably have less highway ahead of me than I have behind me. But for that time, I want to do what makes me happy. I want to do something that leaves hopefully a great legacy or a great building block for my son, you know, and my daughter to, okay, I didn't have this to start with, but you got this. It's your $472. And, you know, do something, deal with it, and move forward. And it's really difficult to do that like you really want to when you're under the auspices and umbrella of somebody else's time, somebody else's rules, somebody else's dictation. So when you take that and give it to yourself, I mean, you know, and usually when we do that, we work even that much more harder. A lot of people think entrepreneurship, oh, you work for yourself in school. You're going to work more than you did on your job.
I left a 9 to
It's
5
more.
so I could work, you know, a 24/7. And I remember the moment that I realized that I was good. My team and I, we'd gone to an event to film, all funded by me. And there's nothing better than, I promise you, there's nothing better than writing yourself a check from your own company for yourself.
I got to get there. I'm not there yet.
Let your mind flow where you want it to go. Hey, let your mind flow where you want to. But that feeling of cutting a check to yourself from your own company for the work you did, boy, it hits completely different. But something that happened with the flights. They had to be back. I didn't have to be anywhere. And I was like, yeah, you guys go. I'm gonna just, you know, get the hotel again and, you know, get the chauffeur takes back there and we're fine. And as I was waiting for the ride, I was just like, I don't have to answer to anyone. Like, who's getting, no one, there's no one here for me to report to. Because if I still have my 9 to 5, I'd have to be back the next day and then I got to sign in, or if I got my computer, I got to work remotely. But how do I work while I'm in the air and this and that, the connection, the security parameters. But I kicked back in the lap. I was like, I'm gonna go get me a drink. Let's find some of the spot to grub. But no, because I built something that's there that pays me. I pay me. I tell me what I want to do. We can go wherever we need to do. And that's why capital information is so important. And that's why I want to give that option to someone. Like I said, $472, especially now, does not seem like a lot. But I wrote it all out. For that $472, you can buy your domain name, you can get your email address, you can get a website, you can file your LLC paperwork, you can get your EIN, you can open up your business account, get your checks, your debit and credit card, you can get your t-shirts and marketing materials printed, and still have enough to go get you a double cheeseburger and fries at Five Guys. So,
and then tip yourself and congratulate yourself on starting your first step in that journey.
Yeah. And that first step is a doozy, but I promise you, the second that first foot lands, that second one's right behind it. And you just keep repeating. Entrepreneurship is a lesson in falling. That's all it is. You're just falling every time, and sometimes you just
Yeah.
hope that leg catches you before you hit the ground.
Yeah.
Really what it is. I've had spectacular failures. I've had glorious successes, but I love the failures more than I love the success. Like the success worked out. All right, cool. But this failure, let me tell you about this failure right here. Let me tell, like I could do a whole podcast on strictly the failures that I made and the lessons learned. And I promise you, anybody watching this, I'm no brighter than you are. I may have a stronger work ethic, but you're talking to the kid from Kingston who grew up on a farm that his great grandfather built and came here as an immigrant. And, you know, all islanders, all immigrants, we've all got our burn immunization badge on our left arm. I feel like that's how they mark us. And I watched struggle, I watched plight, but I knew I could do better. I was told in middle school that the pinnacle of my professional career would be me being a custodial engineer, a janitor. That was what my test came back as a job, and I think second
Really?
that was a blackjack dealer. Yeah, definitely far away from that, considering I'm going to Vegas tomorrow, so maybe I'll get an application. Hey,
That's a patty right there. I love it.
y'all hiring? Y'all hiring? But everything you're about to go through is only as hard as you make it, and you can push through it all. There is a silver lining. Look at all the stuff you have. You guys are probably watching this on an iPhone or something like that. That didn't exist when you were born.
Mm-mm.
Didn't exist at all. But here it
Mm-hmm.
is. And it's changed the entire trajectory of the world. People ask me, what do I want to do? And I said, I'm building the next Disney. And some people laugh and some people get it like, yeah, you are.
They laughed at Disney too, so.
Yeah, exactly. They thought he was crazy. But you have to
Mm-hmm.
be. Could you imagine being the Wright brothers and you're saying, hey, we're building, like you're the Wright brothers' neighbor. And they're like, what are y'all doing? Oh, we're building a plane.
Oh, what? And to do
What?
who?
Yeah,
Really?
we're going to fly. We're going to put a body in there and fly.
Yeah.
Okay. It's literally the equivalent of me telling you, hey, I'm building a time machine. You're like, oh, okay, yeah, you can't go around Sheed no more. Something's wrong with him. But
Right.
you have to be partially insane to build something. And we talked about this last time, that dream. You have to be partially insane to build something that no one else can see.
That was, man, I can't tell you how paramount that was and pivotal. Those from that particular conversation, the one thing that we started off with about learning from those that are maybe younger than you and have been in the craft longer than you or whatever, and then it's just as much as the dream, because it makes you, it centers you to be like, okay, it takes the pressure off a little bit because they don't know, and how can you expect them to really? And now you can move better with that. But as long as they, my wife, she's there with me lock and step. We may have, of course, those differences because the differences I see she doesn't see or whatever. I mean, but man, that was paramount into refocusing stresses, not thinking, we we used to fight because we had separated prior. We had issues, but we still in 23 this year, so 22 this year, so we good.
No.
But one of the things outside of what we spoke of with the ADHD and all this kind of stuff was we didn't think we supported each other in our endeavors. A lot of that was from outside influences and stuff, but if you don't believe somebody is supporting you and they're supposed to be your ride or die, that's an issue. That's a huge issue. But if I would have known that little tidbit of information back then, it wouldn't have been as bad, because you can understand why there may be there may be some type of disconnect.
Yeah.
Because there still is, even with knowing the dream, because it's your dream. So yeah, that brought a lot of centeredness to now. It's like, I mean, I get it. It's cool. We good. Now, she's not gonna see it. Maybe she will. She come around, or maybe she won't.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is it's not a personal thing. You see
Yeah.
what I'm saying? And I think when people, well, I know I did a lot of times. I think personal because you couldn't see what I see, but how can you see what I see?
Yeah, it's
How can
impossible.
you?
It's
Yeah.
impossible.
We have, if you all aren't following the Unknown Black Biz Masters, please do. I mean, I am obviously sure that probably everybody on here is following Rasheed Philips, but if you're not, obviously, please do. Um, but wait, what did we leave with? Okay, I got we left with 11. We had 11 and 4 yards. I jumped in really quick. I'm going to read them real fast. Let's see. We had the first one was, oh, I like this. What's the name said? Richard from Keebler's Kitchen will fail. He did an acronym for that. I don't know if you saw that. First attempt at learning.
He's sending
I
me
love it.
the message I sent him. That's mine. Failure.
Really?
Yeah.
See, it comes down. It comes down. Just made the
Because
okay. Well,
the
about
full saying is failure, first attempt at learning, using real experiences.
using. Okay, let me remember that.
So it's
Using real experiences.
yeah, so it's failure, and then he hit it with the first half. Yeah. People listen to me every once in a while.
Your favorite. Okay, your favorite. I'll tell somebody else. Um. So number one was Freewood, Craigslist. We went over that. Look for Freewood for people that use stick burners. That will cut your costs extremely well. Constant gigs. 3 was put a logo on everything, and everything, and then some more. 4, talk to people who you ship your items with. If you're doing rubs, if you're doing whatever. Hey, if you just go into the post office, talk to these people, get your stuff out there. You never know what happens. 5 was local banks. When you start your business, open up with local or smaller banks. You get your business account. Learn the difference. There's a huge difference. Number 6 between deposit and retainer. One is refundable, which is deposit. Retainer is not. Number 7, you have to jump. Self-explanatory.
Gotta jump.
But and that's part of this, one of the, out of all these, probably the scariest of them all.
It is.
But it's one of the most important of them all.
Because doubt and fear kills more dreams than action.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And there's so many in the graveyard just because they didn't take that jump. 8, own your, oh my God, we could go on and on and on for this, but own your domain names, own your name. Went through all of that. And of course, you can see all this on this replay, which is the longest we've ever done. Yay. Okay, I digress. 9, look up and learn about perpetuity when you do contracts. That's an important word. Look up how it goes and how it feels in your contract. You don't want to have your particular work likenesses going on after Jesus comes and the day after. We don't want that. We got to be fair. 10 was, I got so much. Okay. If they're not going to give you what you're giving them, run. Static fair exchange. See ya. Every contract is not a good contract.
Exactly.
And that should really resonate for all of us. Well, I don't have any. Nobody wanted me, but all of the barbecue community who's these ambassadors.
Mm-hmm.
You know, ambassadors for these brands who, you know, you're doing all this. Yeah, like you said, they're giving product or they're doing, but what else are they doing? So ambassadors are a dime a dozen for some people. So you really got to pick what you choose. 11 was build on the concept of giving. That should be your foundation, your platform is giving. And that was 11 tips from the Rasheed Philips in regards to starting, owning, moving in your own passion, in your own journey as an entrepreneur. Wow.
It's a lot. It's a lot out there, you know. And I guess the last and final, most important, if you're sitting here waiting for a sign, this is your sign.
This is your sign.
This is your sign. There's going to be numerous pitfalls ahead. There's going to be numerous emotions, roller coasters, and my advice to you the people who try to say you've got to find a work-life balance up front have only found that balance after they've done all the work. It doesn't. It's
Here
just very,
again, we listen to people that, do they really,
yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Do they really have the pedigree
Mhm.
to say that?
Yeah.
Can you really say that to me? No, I mean,
And,
yeah.
it's true. And like if we're going to do a tip 12, you need to look through your last 12 text messages of who you spoke to. If those 12 aren't doing anything, you better find a new 12. You better find someone else to talk to. You better be communicating with people who are fanning your flame and not
Mhm.
throwing dirt on it, and they're not snuffing out the fire, because the way you communicate, who you communicate to is so important. Doc said it, words matters, your lexicon matters, right? The loudest, and this is 12, the loudest and clearest voice in the entire world that your body responds to is your own. Make sure you're speaking to yourself in a way that you would want to be spoken to. Speak light, speak joy, speak affirmation, speak positivity, speak reassurance, speak drive, speak structure. Speak to yourself in a way that causes you to grow and not dwindle. That is the utmost important thing. I literally get out of bed and I say, hey, today's a great day. We're going to knock it out of the park. Let's go. Let's do work. Because that voice is the
And
first one and the only one I hear the most.
and you find most successful people have that mantra.
Yeah.
Most
You gotta,
successful
you
people,
gotta, you
because we
gotta
wonder,
put
well,
the,
what's the key to success? Well, first of all, don't beat yourself up.
you beat yourself up. This too shall pass.
Yeah, be your
It's
biggest cheerleader. Be your biggest cheerleader.
you
And
would
you
have
had
to.
said,
You would have to. And it's one of those major things for me where I don't expect everyone else to support me, but I've got to support me.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
I've
We
taken up
talked
way
about
too
words
much of
matter.
everyone's time. Goodness.
Man, you good. We talked about words matter, and the last thing we go is to, and I'm this is kind of my life sorted, so I'm kind of taking some liberties. But what here again kind of um, was epiphany for me is, we sometimes you hear things forever. We know words matter and how you use them and what you say. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words never hurt me. It's not true. It's just the
Not at
opposite.
all.
They will destroy you more so than a stick and stone can.
Because I can heal from a
Um,
stone and a stick, but those words,
absolutely, those words, crazy. But in my way of talking and thinking, and in us in entrepreneurship, you're not sacrificing for your business or doing things. You are investing. And with that investment, your mindset should be, I'm doing this investment to get a return on my investment, my ROI. And that here again is just one of those small little key things that can change a trajectory of someone's mindset to just shoot them into the stratosphere of their success.
yeah,
And don't judge your success by everybody else's, because what you do is what you do.
yeah,
And that's the one thing about our social media nowadays. People got these false successes, and you're trying to reach for something that really isn't for you per se. That's my little 2 cents. But
the heck of
do
some
you?
powerful 2 cents. I
Yeah,
appreciate you
just
having me on
do
here.
you,
Let me pull your ear for a bit and share some random stuff.
man.
Oh.